Hello and welcome to the second episode in our informative Royal London podcast series. Today we'll cover opportunities for advisors to join an incubator program. In this episode, we'll introduce you to the Adviser Incubator, a program developed by the Verve Foundation, and why Royal London support this brilliant opportunity for financial advisors. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Royal London podcast series. I'm Kimberly Dondo, and in today's episode, I'm joined by Chris Kane, Strategic Partnerships Manager at Royal London, and Hayley Rabbets, Head of the Verve Foundation. Thank you both for joining me today.
No problem.
Thanks for having us.
So before we kind of get started, I wanted to get to know you both a bit more. So could you give us a bit of introduction into yourself and what you do? Hayley, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I had the classic story of falling into finance back in 2007. I went for a receptionist role in a financial advice firm, just basically to do admin, and then found myself quickly being very interested in everything that was going on in the office. And I quickly learned that I really enjoy knowing the inner workings of everything, how processes work, all of the technical information, and I kind of worked my way up from there. So I did lots of different roles within IFA firms, and latterly found myself at the Verve Foundation.
That's great. So it was fate, I guess.
Yeah, I like that. We'll say it's fate.
Yeah. And Chris?
I've been in financial services longer than I'd care to mention, but I joined Royal London in 2011, and I've been in my current role since November 2017, which is Strategic Partnerships Manager. So I look after a relationship with a number of key distribution partners, sort of nationals, network service providers, of which obviously the Verve Group are a service provider. And obviously we are committed to doing business through intermediaries and believe in independent financial advice. So the work that the Verve Foundation, as I'm sure we'll bring to life through this podcast today, was very appealing to us. So yeah, I've been working with Hayley for a number of years in that regard.
Okay, fantastic. So getting into that partnership, Hayley, can you tell us a bit about the Verve Foundation and the Adviser Incubator?
Yeah, of course. So the Verve Foundation was originally set up back in 2021 as a not-for-profit. The original reason that it was set up was to house our We Are Change initiative, which was the very first programme that we launched. That one aims to attract new talent into the industry. So we bring brand new people into finance. We help them to get their level 4 diploma. We teach them about the industry itself, and then we help to place them into job roles at the end of the programme. So last year, we launched our brand new programme, the Adviser Incubator, and that's designed for new and early stage advice firms to help them start out on the right foot. It's a virtual programme, and it offers weekly learning sessions covering a variety of areas, such as how to create a business plan, how to put together a proposition, and how to run a regulated business. These sessions form a mixture of workshops followed by group sessions where everyone comes together to discuss what we've been working on, and then we help to problem solve together. Alongside those kind of core program sessions, they're also invited to join a number of ad hoc webinars with specific learning areas such as cybersecurity, vulnerable clients, and marketing. There are two different versions of the program. So one is a 7-week mini program, and that's for those who are interested in starting out on their own, but they're not really sure which route to go down. We provide them basically with a safe space to explore those options. We'll run through the merits and the drawbacks of each option, with the aim that at the end of that program, they know where they want to go and what they want to do. The second option is the full 12-week programme, and that's aimed at those who are newly authorised both through direct authorisation and as an appointed representative, and they just need some guidance and support with getting started out in the first place. This one's also suitable for those who are a few years old and want to ensure that they've got the right structure before moving into a bit of a growth phase with their businesses. On the full programme, we go into detail about the considerations of running a new advisory business, and we kind of run interactive sessions on all of the stuff that they kind of need to know. So on top of those sessions, we also match them with a mentor who they'll have regular sessions with throughout the programme. They have access to office space across the UK, and they also have an opportunity to receive admin support from our We Are Change students. So we try to kind of knit those two together, so the students then get some work experience, the advisors get some admin support, and we're kind of introducing the kind of both of the elements of the foundation together. And the aim is to essentially give new businesses all the support and guidance that they need to make a decision on the route that best suits them with the mini program, and then moving on to building the foundations of their business on the full program. And we have very recently talked about the idea of then moving on to a growth program. So for those businesses to go all through those different stages with us.
Okay. That sounds awesome. Honestly, as someone who, I don't know if this sounds weird, but I like to have my hand held kind of through processes, because sometimes it can feel so daunting to do something so big as, going out on your own and doing something. And it's nice to have a mentor and have people guiding you and knowing that you have resources there.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, one of the biggest elements is the community. And we actually brought everyone together last week. We had a little summer party, although it rained all day.
Classic British weather.
Exactly. And one of the biggest things from last week, it definitely was to see that community together and see the support that people were giving at all different kind of ranges. So you had CEOs of some of our partner companies chatting to some of our students who were just starting out, and there was no kind of arrogance or anything in that room. It was just the community getting together, and it was just wonderful.
Yeah, I honestly think as well, anecdotally, all the feedback you hear from the attendees is that peer-to-peer, having like-minded people you can rely on, a network across the country of advisors you can reach out to and support. It's invaluable. I think can't underestimate that element of the incubator.
Yeah, definitely. And from your perspective, Chris, can you expand on why Royal London chose to support this particular program?
Yeah, I mean, at Royal London, we firmly believe in the value of impartial advice, so we're only too delighted to support Adviser Incubator. We'd conducted some research previously that identified that people benefited from professional independent financial advice in two ways. The first is probably the most obvious one, that's the financial benefits. And our research identified that on average, people who'd sought professional financial advice were something like £47,000 better off after 10 years. And the second element was maybe a bit more subtle, there was a definitely perceived emotional benefits. So talking to a financial advisor helps people feel more in control of their money, confident about the future, and better prepared to deal with life shocks. So all good news. But despite that, only 26% of the country seek professional financial advice. So effectively 3/4 of the population are missing out on the value and security it can provide. And in fact, I think the research also identified that there's something like 39 million adults in the UK currently don't take any form of professional advice or guidance when it comes to looking after their finances. And that term we're all too familiar with, sadly, is the advice gap. That is the advice gap right there. The research also identified that, I think there's something like, a lot of stats getting thrown out here, but there's 3.7 million non-advised customers who are not only open to professional financial advice, but also have investable assets worth over £50,000. So if all those customers, if they were to suddenly wake up tomorrow and wanted professional advice, there simply isn't enough capacity for the advisor community to help them. So we need to be thinking about how we can help advisors scale up their businesses in order to reach those clients who need that. They need their help. And if I can just maybe share one last stat with you, at the same time, there's a further 5.7 million non-advised customers who've got assets of 50k or less. Okay, but in total, there's something like 185 billion of unadvised investable assets out there. So if those advice firms are unable to take on customers currently, how can the financial services industry make sure they can find and access the level of support they need, I guess is the question we'd ask them. So, there's a lot of big issues out there, but we felt at Royal London that the Adviser Incubator presented a meaningful opportunity to be involved in a new approach to developing successful advisor businesses, and at least in some small part, start to address some of these issues.
Yeah, because again, like you said, a lot of people talk about that advice gap, but never actually talk about how to address it.
Yeah, and it's tricky. Sometimes it can seem overwhelming, but small steps and all that Was it from small acorns grow large oak trees?
Exactly. And yeah, it takes a while, but the results are always beautiful.
Correct.
Yeah. So this is a question for both of you. What are you looking to achieve together through this partnership?
Shall I go first there, Hayley?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it, Chris.
So again, this is sounding trite, right? But it's to help bridge that advice gap in a meaningful and demonstrable way. So we know the demand for advice continues to outstrip availability, but it's exciting for us to play a meaningful role and help address that challenge. So since the incubator launched, I think there's been 5 cohorts for Hayley of advisors going through. So 50 to 60 advisors. And what's been interesting from my perspective is the attitude of these people. They're really contemporary and forward-thinking individuals that seem to be coming on board. And it's clear the sentiment for most of these advisors is they don't wish to be viewed as, simply a tied salesperson offering a limited proposition. It's clear their desire is them to be truly independent and be able to offer a range of solutions from across the market. And I've been fortunate enough to sit in on a lot of the incubator sessions, and it's been a real privilege. The feedback, particularly as they reach the end of the program, has been really compelling. And I have noted down some stuff, actually, if you don't mind, that just a few of the sound bites from some of the advisors from the last couple of cohorts. Mm-hmm. One advisor said, I started my business in January 2024 and now have a much better structure generally on what to focus on first. I've developed my business proposition thanks to Incubator and ring-fence 2 full days every 6 months for formal business planning. And another advisor stated, Incubator gave me far more structure, greater clarity and focus on what I needed to do and stopped me focusing on what I like to do. Mm-hmm. And I can give you maybe one final example, which is probably the most compelling. It's just one simple sentence. I wouldn't be staying the course in becoming a financial advisor if it wasn't for Adviser Incubator. So really powerful testimony. So undoubtedly, we remain really keen to work with Hayley and the Verve Foundation and the current partners, but also anybody else out there like to sponsor the incubator. Let's make this program really scalable and help even more individuals become advisors or develop their own advice practices.
Yeah. And Hayley?
I'm just sat here feeling very proud. I forgot about those quotes. It's just so lovely to hear it. Even though you see it in print, to hear someone say it out loud is really lovely. So obviously we believe in truly independent advice and making that more accessible. So literally everything we do at the Verve Foundation supports that. And one of the key reasons, I guess, that we partnered with Royal London is that our values and ethos really do align. And that's really quite clearly reflected in everything that Chris has just said there. What we do want is to see more small independent firms thrive in the industry and offer innovative ways of doing things and to kind of increase access to advice. The more diversity we have, the more options become available to clients and the more accessible it will be. Sounds really simplistic, but it does work. So the more we can do, the bigger impact it will have, I suppose. And to get a place on the programme, firms have to demonstrate that they are forward-thinking and client-centric. And I think that really does help to ensure that we're supporting the future of financial advice.
Yeah. I think those testaments also resonated with me as someone who, again, going back to it, my brain can be all over the place. And I do tend to do the things that I like first, rather than what I need to do. So having that guidance, again, I think is probably the best thing in the world. It's like, when you're in school, you get given tasks and how you're told how to complete them. And then once you leave school, you're just kind of thrust out there to figure it out. And I sometimes I'm like, oh man, maybe I should go back to school because I need that guidance.
I think that was the biggest anecdotal feedback we heard was beyond the sort of the peer-to-peer support was giving them the focus on that business planning and letting them step out the business and focus on the things that mattered to making their business a success, not the things they wanted to or like to do or their habits had created. Mm. And I think, to a girl and to a guy, that was pretty much what they all sort of resonated.
Yeah, definitely. And Hayley, we'd like to hear about the progress and success of the program to date. I know Chris kind of tapped into some of that. Do you want to expand on it?
Yeah. So as Chris mentioned, we have had 5 cohorts of the initiative so far. We're planning another 2 before the end of the year. So it'll be one of the full programme and one of the mini programme, looking to start in September and October. And then they finish together so that we can kind of have those 2 cohorts together on our last session. So we started out with just the full program last year when we originally launched it, and we quickly realised after looking through all the applications that we needed to design another one for those that just wanted to explore their options. So along came the mini program just 5 months after we launched. So we'd already progressed quite quickly into making it into 2 different programs. And I think in terms of success, we measure this mainly by the feedback that we receive for those on the program, and actually watching those firms progress. So we keep in contact through a group and through the community, and we hear how those firms are kind of progressing as they leave us. They chuck in questions, they still speak to each other. So it's nice to be able to kind of keep in touch with that. We've had overwhelmingly positive feedback from the incubees, as I call them. And as they form part of our alumni community, we obviously continue to hear about how they're getting on and stuff. We've seen firms progress in many different ways, from finally nailing their proposition. So a lot of them come to us and say, I'm not sure about my fees, or I'm not sure if I've got the right target market. And it takes them some time to kind of rework those. And then taking on new clients and even winning some awards. Speaking of, we've actually won 2 awards last year with the incubator getting specific mention. So I think that we'd call that a success, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And Chris, looking ahead, what more can we be doing as an industry to tackle the advice gap?
So we know many advisors aren't able to adequately service the volume of clients they currently have, far less have the bandwidth to grow their client bank. So if we truly want customers to enjoy better financial outcomes and experiences, the only way that will ever happen is if the industry comes together and takes mutual responsibility for putting solutions in place. So in our view, there's kind of 4 key areas of focus the industry needs to look at. First one's promoting the free government guidance services. We know there are millions of customers who need help with financial matters, but the reality is most of these customers will never be able to access professional financial advice. So we need to do more to promote the different sources of free guidance that exist and encourage customers to use them. So that's the first thing. This next one's maybe easier to say and harder to do, but demystify the world of financial advice and guidance. If we can find a way to break that down, we could unlock opportunities for advisors and, more importantly, connect more people with potentially life-changing support. Improving financial education at grassroots, so getting it onto the curriculum at schools, colleges and universities. And actually it was really encouraging. I don't know if you saw last week, this was the time of recording, that'll be the week, sort of 22nd of May-ish. The House of Commons Education Committee actually published a report into financial education last week. So it's encouraging to see the government are actually looking to take this seriously and get that onto the curriculum into schools. It's so important. And then finally, it's helping advisors to scale up their services. And something that's very close to our heart at Royal London. We focused on helping advisors build efficiency into their financial planning processes. We've developed a range of tools, calculators and governance support for them. And we're also able to help advisors to spot new client opportunities with tailored data and insights and tools designed to help them deliver better outcomes. But by doing that, hopefully what that should allow is those advisors to focus on the tasks that will actually add real value to their business. So I appreciate there's still a lot of work to do to help bridge the advice gap, but it's also so heartening to see the fantastic work that Hayley and the Verve Foundation have been doing through Adviser Incubator to try and at least do that. So yeah, all encouraging.
Yeah. Well, it all sounds fantastic. And like I said, I am a huge supporter of anything that helps demystify and also give structure to something that seems so much bigger than yourself, something that sometimes you're like, I don't know how I'm going to tackle this. I have this dream, I have this thing I want to achieve, but what are the steps? And being able to find a program that helps kind of line that up for you, I think is truly amazing. So I'm excited to see where this partnership goes, and hopefully we'll be able to pick back up and talk more about it.
Oh, definitely. Thanks, Kimberly. And I'm sure, Hayley, you'd agree that if there's any advisors out there thinking about coming on, you'd be more than willing to get one of the incubees who've already been through the program to speak to them, because it is a fantastic initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. All of our incubies are always very keen to speak to people. We have lots of recommendations in the different groups out there. We have people spreading the word, kind of speaking in networking opportunities and things like that. So we get a lot of applications through from our alumni who are just speaking to other people and saying, I've done it, so you can do it. You just need that confidence sometimes and that encouragement. So yeah, absolutely. Lots more to come, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for joining me today and speaking with me. This was a really great conversation.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thanks, Hayley.
Thanks, Kimberly. Appreciate it.
Thank you to Hayley and Chris for providing an insight into this exciting program, and hopefully this podcast will help spread the word. If you'd like to find out more about the program, visit Adviser Incubator at the Verve Foundation. See you next time.